It's time to grow and scale your coaching business the impact-driven, simple and sustainable way. Welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. I'm your host, Sofia, mindset and business coach, supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built $1 million business by the age of 26 in under 4 years, and I've coached hundreds across the globe to build incredible businesses that create freedom and fulfillment whilst having a whole lot of fun along the way. And in this podcast, I will teach you the mindset, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. This week's episode is super exciting because I'm interviewing one of my incredible Rise with Events clients, Georgia St. John Smith. Georgia is incredible. She is such a go-getter. She's so beautiful, so kind, so loving. And I don't know about you, but I love British accents, and she's got a British accent. I know a lot of people love Australian accents, but because I'm Australian, it's so normal to me. I love British accents. My God, give me a British accent any time of the day and I will love it. So she's just so beautiful. Her energy is just remarkable, and you're going to love this episode because she is just such a shining and rising example of what is possible when you turn your greatest pain and your greatest challenges into your greatest strengths, and you use that to skyrocket and transform your life, because that is exactly what Georgia did. What we realized when we recorded this episode is that her and I have a lot in common. Our journeys are very similar, of going through a really big breakup and, moving countries and creating a lot of change and starting a business, and all of the fears and discomfort and challenges that come with that, and how she started her business and how she grew it, the uncomfortable things she did, the challenges that she went through, and how she's gone today to earning so much money in her business, doing in-person retreats. She's spoken in front of hundreds on stage. She's just done so many incredible things, and she is just getting started. She started working with me in about July 2023, I'm going to say. She joined my course, Rise with Events, which is the ultimate program for planning, promoting, and presenting online events. And she wanted to learn my formula on how to run online events. She had done in-person ones, but she wanted to master online ones. So this is like challenges, masterclasses, intensives, workshops, whatever you want to call them. She learned my proven formula on how to plan them effectively, how to promote them so that you actually have a lot of people signing up and showing up, and how you can present so well that you not only blow everyone's minds away with so much value, but you also leave people wanting to work with you as that next step. And Georgia, being the action taker that she is, she followed my exact formula, and from running her first event alone, made £12,600 from her first ever event, which is just incredible. And she just keeps growing and building up that momentum ever since then. And if you convert £12,600 into Australian dollars, it's almost 25,000 Australian dollars, which is really quite remarkable. And so if she can do that from her first event using one simple process, and she did have fears, she did have doubts, and she shares that all so transparently in this episode, then please know that so can you. So you're really going to love getting a real behind the scenes and insight into what it really takes to start, grow, and scale an online business and bring your wildest dreams to life, because she literally travels the world and is living the ultimate freedom-based lifestyle. I can't wait for you to listen. Enjoy the episode. And I'll see you. All right. Hello, Georgia. Welcome to Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. I'm so happy to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, this is going to be such a fun conversation, just like I was speaking off air with you now. Obviously, I know you quite well, having worked together, but as I was doing more research into your journey and how you got to where you are today, which is going to be such an exciting story to dive deep on because you have a really incredible story, what I realized is we actually have a lot of similarities in our journey in terms of how we both went through a breakup and how that played quite a big role in our journey to starting a business, but also really transforming who we are as a person. We also have similarities in terms of living and moving to a different country, and also who we help in our business as well. So I'm really excited to dive deep with you. It's nice to be able to have a conversation with someone that I can really relate to on all of the levels. Even when we started our business, not sure if you know, is like it's all the same. So I'm really excited about this.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I knew I was drawn to you for a reason. And I think, yeah, it's definitely those sometimes pivotal moments that where everything seems to be going wrong, that actually it's the foundation of something beautiful.
100%. I was actually watching one of your YouTube videos earlier today where you were sharing your story. And in your video, you were sharing how your rock bottom moments of going through this breakup and you just felt like everything was all going wrong at once. And that's exactly how I felt, right when I started this whole personal development journey. It felt like, yeah, problem after problem all in one hit. And you really just feel like in those moments that life is happening to you. And now what we both know, and what I hope, everyone listening learns in case they do happen to be in that time of their life now, is that on the other side of it, you can see how it all really happens for you rather than to you.
Yeah, and there can be a big thing of like, I definitely felt like a victim at times. I was
Yep.
like, and those low moments, when it's like I was like crying on the floor of my bathroom, like, why me? Like, why is this all happening to me? And I remember like even saying it to my mentor at the time, like, why is this all happening to me? But I think it's the ability to move through that in a way that's like with real trust that things
Mm.
have to work out.
Yeah. And some people, when they go through these really tough times, they stay in them for a long time because they're not ready or not, haven't found a way to see the lessons and the gifts behind them. And I think what's really important from your journey that we'll dive into in a second is that you did lean into support, like you got a mentor. And I really believe that's
Mm.
why you are where you are, because whilst it was super hard, you seek support. You were able to find responsibility and resilience and courage and faith and trust in the darkest times within yourself. And I really believe that's why now those situations are some of your greatest gifts in life, as opposed to the worst things that ever happened to you, because you're willing to look for those learnings. And I think that's such a beautiful reminder, because everyone goes through challenges in their life, and many of them, in fact. And to turn them into something beautiful, you have to find the lessons in it, which is difficult initially. But on the other side of that, you realize why it really did happen, because it's there to make you stronger and wiser and, just a better person overall.
Yeah, yeah, like I would never have imagined like what would happen next. Like my life was completely different, and I don't think I would have took it upon myself, but I think I was quite happy just to coast. But
Mm,
the universe was like, nah, you're going places, babe. Like, get up.
yeah. And so we get given these like challenges, and this is all so easy, like easy to say in hindsight, of course, but we get given these challenges to like force us to shift it and let go of things and move through things so that we can, rise up in another level. Like I was the exact same. I think there was this part of me that knew I was made for more, but I totally didn't have capacity at the time to do anything about that. And then I get thrown a breakup and losing my job and living with my grandparents, and like all of these really challenging and strange things and struggles in terms of like figuring out what to do, and just like all at once as well. And it forced me to work on myself, and then like realizing, wow, with the right support and approach, you can actually move through these things so quickly. If only I'd found that sooner. And then all of a sudden I wanted to help other people with that, because it was so painful for me to go through. And now that I had the tools to move through it all, I wanted to help others with it. And now I can see, why all of that happened and how that is such a gift in my life. And from reading your story and having had conversations with you, I can see that the same has happened to you. So if we just go a little bit back, right to these rock bottom moments, just to give everyone some context, I suppose, like, what were those moments that led you to starting a business in 2020, if I'm correct? And yeah, like walk us through that journey to starting an online business.
Yeah, I mean, to be totally honest, I always wanted to start a business. So my parents both have their own businesses and always said to me, like, Georgia, like, work for yourself. I don't know, it was just a bit of a philosophy of like, I don't know, growing something yourself and like not necessarily, I don't know, going the way everyone else goes. So I always knew I'd do that. But after university, I was just like a kid, basically, like running around London, like, what do I do? So I got a job and it ended up being like a really good one. And I really excelled in my career quickly. So, because I was a part of a startup, I managed to be in kind of a leadership position within like a couple of years of working there and really grew the business from small to big. And it was at that point where I'd hit almost like a corporate glass ceiling. It was really weird actually. And I was like, hang on a minute, like, what do you mean I'm not going to earn more than I'm earning now? What do you mean, like, there's not really anywhere else for me to go? And at that point, I was like, oh, I think I might have to do something else. But I was so scared. And this is the thing about the fear thing. I literally sat on it because I was earning good money and I come from a background where actually we were really struggling when I went to uni. So I didn't have that financial support. I always had a side job. Like I always was like really scraping the barrel with money. So when I'd gone into this new job and I had all this money, I was like, oh my God, I can't let that go. Like that's my safety net. So it was a big fear. And I sat on that for about 18 months, like
Wow.
thinking, oh, I might quit, you know? Um, but the rock bottom moment, I think it was a accumulation of moments in that
Mm.
environment where I just outgrown it. Like I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. And so of course there was going to be moments where I clashed with the business and in terms of company culture and things, it's something that I don't know, I'm a very strong advocate of like independence and it just didn't work. It just didn't work for me. I didn't see the point in doing things for the sake of it. Like if I do something, I want it to have an impact. So it got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to create a plan. And that's what I did. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I got just curious. So that's when I got my first coach actually. And I was like, right, what do I do? And that's when I started to get into yoga. I got into meditation. They kind of got me through my corporate days.
Mm.
I was actually more interested in fashion because I was like, okay, what do I enjoy? I was actually very interested in fashion. I started Sancti as a fashion brand because I love fashion, but it's when I started to realize the costs of that in terms of environmental impact and the people who work for a lot of these factories and how they're treated. Like, actually, even sustainable companies aren't as sustainable as I would actually want the future of the world to be.
Mm.
So that just became a no for me. I was like, well, I can't contribute to that. I can't contribute to what's going on in the fashion industry. And that's when I was like, right, it's yoga. So really for me, it got to a point where I'd been sitting on it for so long that I was like, I'm just going to do my yoga training. I'm just going to go to Bali and hope for the best.
Wow, I love that. So your initial business was wanting to be a yoga teacher?
Yeah, so my initial business plan actually was building out Sancti as a business for corporates to book yoga classes to come
Mm.
into the offices. And obviously, as we all know, when I started my business, I went to Bali in February 2020. The
Shortly
world locked
after that.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
so
world
funny.
locked down. Yeah.
I was in Bali February 2020 as well. And it was like,
Oh,
I think like a week after getting back from there or something, like the whole world shut down. Like I remember even like flying there, we had to fill out these like COVID forms, basically just like making sure like we weren't sick or something. And I remember being like, this is so weird. But anyways, I went and had my week there in Bali. It was so much fun. I came back and like the whole world shut down. It was really crazy.
yeah, yeah, it was mad. And so like I ended up going back to England way sooner than I'd planned because obviously the world was locking down. And I got back and I was like, all right, I'll just, do online yoga for a few weeks. But then obviously it turned out that a few weeks was going to end up being a couple of years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just sort of started to develop, and I'd taught online yoga for a while, and I did that for businesses. So I basically mimicked my model, but online, my business model.
Cool.
Yeah, until I started getting deeper and deeper into the work. And that's when I trained for my coaching qualification.
So what made you all of a sudden want to do a coaching qualification from that?
What I loved about yoga, like, and I still do to this day, is like the philosophy, the whole reason you go to yoga compared to maybe why you would go to Pilates or the gym. Like, it's so the history of yoga and learning about like Eastern principles of oneness and peace and all these concepts that actually they live and breathe. And I was like, wow, like imagine if in the West we had this ability to also be tapped into peace and pure love. So as I got into yoga more and that philosophy side, I started getting tarot cards and oracle cards and getting deeper into it. And it was a friend of mine actually who I collaborated with for my online studio in COVID, that she was just doing her qualification, and the way she talked, I was like, Becky, like, what are you doing? This is amazing. Like, how do you handle things like this? Like, it was just incredible. And she was like, oh, I'm doing my qualification in coaching. Like, you should try it. So I did.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that you just like leaned into anything that felt right, like across your journey, you just trusted and went all in on it. So that was, what year was that? Was that 2021 that you did your coaching qualification?
Yeah, it actually started late 2020.
Oh, cool.
And then, yeah, by 21, I was qualified. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And then what was that like navigating starting a coaching business in particular? Like what challenge and struggles did you come up against then?
Honestly, I didn't want to start a coaching business. I was like so not on that wavelength. I was like, oh, I'm going to use these amazing skills I have and do my favorite part of what I do, and that's retreats. And so I actually set up retreats before anything else. As soon as the world got out of lockdown, as soon as that was happening, I was like craving this in-person experience with people. So yeah, I actually used my coaching qualification in my retreats, and like I would do like coaching through that way. But you know what? I was so resistant. I was so resistant to actually leaning into coaching for a long time. And I think that needed to happen. It was part of my journey. But as soon as I did start to lean into it, which wasn't even that long ago, everything just started to go to the next level.
Amazing. So yeah, I remember you said that because you joined my Rise with Events program to learn how to run online events. And it was shortly around there that you decided to go all in on your coaching business, right?
Yeah. Because by that point, I'd been running retreats in Ibiza for, how long? Maybe like 2 years, like just over 2 years. And I just knew something was missing. Like I was having these amazing experiences with people on the retreat, but then they were going home and I was like, I need to support them more. Like could really do with bolting on some coaching to this and actually helping them. So yeah, I got to a point where I was like, right, I need to actually lean into this. And that is exactly the time when I found you.
Yeah, perfect. So good. Interrupting this podcast episode quickly to talk to you about my program, Rise to Coach. Rise to Coach is a lifetime access, self-paced, and money-back guarantee program to help you start and make money as a coach or service provider. This is the online program where I'm going to teach you the rock solid foundations you need from scratch and how to sign clients on repeat. This is perfect if you are time poor, you're on a budget, or just starting out. I have done my very best to make Rise to Coach so extremely accessible so you can get everything you need in one place when you're just starting out. You get lifetime updates, you get a monthly live Q&A call in the Facebook community. You can also connect with others and ask me questions any day you want in the Facebook community, and I'll get back to you ASAP, along with quarterly virtual workshops. There is so much support and accountability and depth in Rise to Coach, and I'm so extremely proud of this program because it has helped so many people just starting out to create an aligned strategy to feel good and balanced and not lose their life in the process of growing and starting their business. So if this is calling you, then I highly recommend you head to sofiarosebernardi.com/rise to coach and join today.
Everything. Plus, it's a high ticket thing. And if they've not worked with me before, if they've not seen what I'm about, there's a warming up process there as well. So coaching just allowed it to just gel amazingly.
Yeah, and just like supplement what you were doing was working so well, but in terms of like scaling, you may have been capped there because it requires that people are available then and there and can actually come to your location and all of those sorts of things. Whereas when we tap into the online world, there's literally like just infinite possibilities of reaching people any time and any place. Even like, you and I are like on the other side of the world of each other, and yet we're able to connect here, and we met each other through social media. And I just think that's so incredible. So I'm so glad to hear that that process has been so supportive for you, just to have the clarity on, how to plan events, how to promote events, how to present them, and do so with a lot of confidence. And you said something really powerful before around how important it is to follow the process to the end. And that really reminds me of a conversation we had during your very first launch. I remember the fear came up for you, and you were going through these struggles, and then you kept going. We made some tweaks, and then you had like a wildly successful launch. And I think that's just testament to you, and also just following through to the end. So yeah, the details of that more if you want to share like your experience on that and how that turned around and what the result was.
Yeah, like I was just this is it. I was actually terrified. It's so
Which
funny,
is so normal, but the cool thing is you kept going.
Yeah, you know what I've realized now? I was like, it's a familiar feeling. Like I'm often scared. I'm often making moves that mean that it's going to be scary. And it's like my word for this year is expansion. And that's exactly what it is. Like when you're expanding, you're scared, like it's going past your comfort zone. So yeah, in that launch, I was like, I don't know what I was scared of, but sometimes, and this is a big thing that I talk about in my coaching as well, and it's actually called the success paradox, where actually within ourselves, we can really hold ourselves back because deep down we can be afraid to be successful. And a lot of people
it's
talk
like an
about
upper limit problem. Yeah, like we self-sabotage if we're not ready to hold the abundance. Like so many people consciously say like, yeah, I want success, but on a deeper level, if you don't feel worthy of it, or if you have these like crazy beliefs that if you were to become successful, you would lose something else in your life that is really important to you, like your family or your relationship or your health or whatever, then of course we're going to self-sabotage to make sure we don't get that success. Hey.
Yeah, and that's what was coming up for me in that time. I was like, because I do, because obviously it's great when you're a coach because you can notice your own stuff straight away and you're like, damn it. And so I am aware of it but it's something I'm so happy to be moving through, because like for me at that time when, for example, when I went to university and things were really hard for me and my family, really, really hard for us financially, when I then flipped it on its head and I was in London, I was earning six figures, like in London, like living this life, like my family, I felt a disconnect there. Like my sister couldn't relate to me as much anymore. She would like make comments just about like how she, she would never be able to do the things I do. And I was like, oh my God. And what that happens for like the inner child is we
You're
start
going to
to
be
feel like,
abandoned. Yeah.
yeah, we're going away from our family. And if I've associated that in my body, in my mind, in my subconscious with actually being disloyal to my family, then hell no, I'm not going to be
Of
successful like that
course.
again.
Yeah.
And that was coming up so much for me. And it was really just to be like, come on, Georgia, you said you wanted to do this. We're gonna have to just carry on. Like it was
Yeah,
just an
yeah, yeah.
inner thing of like, okay, this fear is here, but we're gonna have to just keep putting it out there. And so I remember I even had an email back from one of my marketing emails from a client of mine who's a one-to-one client saying, oh, do you think I would benefit from the mastermind? And my initial reaction was like, oh God, like they're already a client. Like, how
They're
could
already
they do
paying you.
both?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, no, hang on, Georgia. Actually, would this person answer the question? Would they benefit? Yes, they would.
Mm.
Okay. Tell them that. Tell me actually they should sign up and it would be really good for them. And I did. And that was my actual first sign up. And it was after that that it just started to flow. And I had more and more calls that were booked in, more and more yeses. So yeah, and I set out a goal actually because I'm quite lofty with my goals. I'm quite like, let's break the ceilings, you know. I'd set a goal of a 5-figure launch. I don't know whether I really believed I was going to do it, but then that did happen, and I went above what I thought I would. It was in UK pounds, like 12.6K, I think, in the end for that
That's
particular launch, my first
amazing.
one.
Yeah. So from that first online event, like the first one you did, you made
Yeah.
£12,600.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. That's amazing.
It was ridiculous. I was like, oh my God, okay, this works. Like,
When you follow the
yeah.
process, it works. And I just want to give you so much credit here right now because I see people self-sabotage exactly the way that you explained. What's really cool though is you're self-aware enough that you've been able to connect the dots on why you were self-sabotaging or having all these fears come up. You were able to link it to your childhood and feeling that disconnect, which is amazing. But not everyone has the ability to recognize that, or if they don't have a business coach supporting them or a mindset coach to help them unpack that, then what I do see plenty of people do is they will get through to the part where they've delivered the event and then they stop. They literally don't even promote their service after that because these fears get so in the way, and then they don't have anyone sign up because they've self-sabotaged themselves that much that they just give up so early on if they don't get this instant gratification. They run the event, and because they don't get any traction like immediately, like the fear just can paralyze people sometimes. And it's so normal to feel fear. Most people feel fear. I feel fear at times from my events. I know you did too. But how cool is it to know that you felt that fear, and then we had a conversation, we unpacked it a little bit, and then I think it was literally like 24 hours later or something, so much less, then you got your first sign up, and then everything just went on from there. But imagine had we not had the conversation, or imagine if your fear had gotten the better of you and you were like, it's not working, like what's the point? And you like,
Yeah.
there goes £12,600. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just
Yeah.
the real benefit of like keeping on going. And it's really those that keep going no matter what that eventually win in the end. And so it's really a testament to your perseverance and the ability to have delayed gratification and self-awareness to just keep
Mm.
going. And there's slight tweaks in your launch as well that we went through. It's just game changer, right?
Yeah. And I really love it because the more, oh my goodness, like the more you start to realize this in your own experience, like how I realized that in that experience. Then not long later I did another launch and it's like, okay, the fear's back again. And then like now, like it's like, okay, this is part of it now, actually. Like I'm gonna have this fear. It's not that I'm failing, it's things going on in my mind, in my subconscious that are coming up here. And like even for one of my clients, a similar thing happened to her when she was wanting to launch a new program. And her story was different. Her story was why bother?
Mm.
Because if you've had evidence of previously things not going wrong, it can lead to this feeling of why would I bother then?
Yeah.
And as
If
soon
you
as we
believe it's not going to
identify,
work out.
yeah, and as soon as we identified that and shone a light on it, it was like boom, light bulb moment. And I think it's because I went through that myself that I was then able to guide her through that, and she was then able to be like, oh, okay, I know what this fear is now. It's
Mm.
coming from that. So then it's a choice. It's not this, it's not a blind thing anymore. It's a choice. What am I going
Mm.
to do with it now?
I love that. It is a choice. That's super powerful. And especially powerful that you're able to now, help your clients with similar things. And what's really cool when you run events consistently, right, is you start to pick up on patterns of your behavior, patterns of the fears and things like that. And the fears start to have less weight on them when you realize, oh, it's typically around this time of the launch that I feel this is normal, and I have evidence from the past that if I just persevere, that it all works out in the end. And even in like worst case scenario for someone, if someone's listening to this and they have persevered and they still didn't get the financial result, then what's really important to look at is the lessons. Why is that the case? There's something powerful and really important that needs to be learned from that experience so that you have a different and better experience next time. And if you're not able to grab those lessons on where it went wrong in the funnel, or why you didn't get the specific result that you were after, like those lessons need to be learned in order. So, in order to grow, which is why it's so important that regardless of what the result is, it's actually a successful event, because you're either gonna learn some really important lessons, or you're gonna get the result, and you'll just like prove to yourself, okay, what I just did worked. Let's double down on that now.
Yeah, yeah, and that's literally what I live by, that mantra in everything in life, that everything is either a lesson or a gift.
100%.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. So, walk us through what your business model looks like now. Like, how many programs do you have? What are you doing in person versus online? Like, what does your strategy and your business model kind of look like today, and how's it all going?
Yeah, so actually since then, so I've actually ran like 2 rounds of my mastermind now. Like I just
So
did
good.
back-to-back launches,
Yeah.
and I have actually extended it to 6 months. So initially it was 3 months, and
Hmm.
now I've extended it to 6 months.
Yep.
So that's like my core offer
Yep.
now is the Sanctify Mastermind.
Hmm.
And I have, to lead into that, the initial process I went through with my first mastermind clients is the Sancti method. So I'm
Hmm.
actually starting to turn that into a course,
Yeah.
which will be like a shorter 3-month program that is a bit of a lead in to Sanctify
That's
the
right.
Mastermind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that really covers like the foundations of, like you were saying, like this awareness, this ability to pick up on and move through things. So then by the time you get to Sanctify, it's like we are literally just leveling up again and again and again. It's like a fun place to be,
Hmm.
So yeah. And then what I do is, as well, I've got my retreats. So someone can just decide they want to join a retreat in Ibiza.
Hmm.
Amazing. Let's have fun. Or they can bring it in as a part of the bundle for the mastermind or the program.
Hmm.
I do work with people one to one as well. Um, yeah, that's
So
it.
powerful. And how often at the moment are you running events?
So I actually, it's an interesting one actually, because with my strategy now, I actually want to run a ton of events. And so I'm going to mix it up. I think at least every quarter, but I think I'm actually going to start doing it more often, and
Hmm.
maybe even to a point of like once every other month, where
Yeah.
there's going to be an event there and there's going to be an opportunity for people to really get to come into my world and understand what I'm really doing here.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially
Yeah.
because events have this really powerful ability to attract people and to nurture them. And if you're running that, even in between while you're running your mastermind, that by the time you get to the next round, you're going to have this huge list of really warm people that are just ready to enter. And you can even leverage events whilst you're running your mastermind to get people onto a wait list ready for the next round, so that all of your events are really
Yeah.
intentional, which is super powerful. And that way, yeah, you just always have consistent clients coming into your world.
Yeah. And like right now is like I feel so good right now because it's like it's weird how it's turned out, but it's like January and I'm like doing all of my upgrades. Like
Mm,
everything is like having an upgrade. So I'm like, I've had new branding, a new photo shoot, like a new website, like it's all happening
I love
now. So I'm
that.
so excited. Yeah, just to take it through the year and really, yeah, make an incredible experience, like to the next level, basically.
Yeah, that is super exciting. Before we start to wrap up, I would love to hear, like, if you were speaking to someone that was a few stages before you in business, so maybe just starting out, and if they're wondering if they should go all in like you were considering, or even if they should, run events, or go all in on their business, what advice would you really give to someone that's considering starting or making certain changes in their business to grow?
I would say, first of all, do you want to grow? Do you want to expand?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do, then things are going to have to change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So
the
true.
things that you've already done aren't going to necessarily get you there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But it's also a question of like, one, how much you want it,
Mm,
because that's what I notice is the people who I'm around and who are in my world who are really smashing it, like they want it. Like
yeah.
they really, really want this life of freedom. And if you do want that, it comes with taking responsibility for, okay, has if it's not a personal thing, you know, you are good enough, you are incredible, you are talented, you are empowered, you could do this on your own, but you don't have to. And for me, like, oh my God, it's been like the best thing ever having the right coach, the right
Mm,
support, because it just accelerates things really quickly. Like on my own, if I was to decide to like make up a launch model, like maybe I would have earned a couple of grand, like, but with a full on model, it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I have this structure,
mm,
and yeah, it's scary. You're gonna be scared. That's okay.
yeah.
Like if you really want this, like you can do it. You have everything you need.
I think that's such good advice. Like, you're really just like sharing so many truth bombs there. That's maybe uncomfortable for people to hear, because you do really have to ask yourself, like, how badly do you want this? Because it is going to require work and discomfort and uncertainty and stretching yourself. And like you said, like, expansion is this big positive word, but actually underneath expansion usually is like letting go of a lot of stuff, and like, yeah, putting yourself in really uncomfortable positions so that you actually can expand. Because like you said, things are going to have to change. Like, if you want a different result, then you do have to change your way of being and what you're currently doing, because that's getting you to where you are now. So if you want something
Mm,
more, you're going to have to do something different. And I think whilst that can be so uncomfortable for people to hear, I think it's just a really realistic, honest picture of, like, you can have everything you want. The question is just like, how badly do you want it? And are you willing to take the risks, take the actions to go after that, even in the times where it's not working? And I think you also hit the nail on the head when you shared that, you could have tried to piece it all together and figure it out, but instead you're like, actually, like, I know that this is what I want to do. So why would I try and figure it out on my own when I can just go to someone who's already done all the figuring out over years and years on end, and I can just go straight to what works and get the result way faster than having to go through the pain and suffering of like trying to be independent and figure it out on your own, and almost like behaving from that scarcity lens, and instead you're just like, actually, like, I'm just going to go straight to what works and have the support so that it's a more enjoyable process. And I think that says a lot about why you are where you're at, because even in times where financially it's been tough, or you've had a lot of evidence of why you shouldn't do certain things, like you said, like holding on to your security net and whatever, you instead trusted what you actually wanted, and you went all in on that. Like, you didn't dabble, you were like, I'm doing this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And different people have their own styles and their own things, but the more I look around, the more I notice that the people who are really going places, they invest without thinking about it.
Yeah,
And I still have that resistance. Like, I still do have that resistance and
of
that fear
course.
sometimes. Like, I want to click X, I want to get off the page, I want to do that. But if I know it's truly right for me, then it's like, okay, I'm
Mm.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. And isn't it so amazing as well? Like you said, that when you were working your corporate job and you were considering, something didn't feel 100%, like you sat on it for 18 months, which is fine. Some people literally sit on it for their whole life. They never act. And some
Mhm.
people take years and years. But, just speaking about your example, you sat on it for 18 months, and all of that build up, and that pain and that process, and then really it's just like this one decision and your whole life changed. So really it took you 18 months to make the decision, but the change happened in a moment once you actually made the decision. And
Yeah.
everything happens exactly as it's meant to, and it's all divine timing, so there's nothing wrong here. But it's amazing. Like, imagine if you had just trusted yourself what you wanted straight away, that 18 months could have been used for growing your business. And like I said, it's all happened exactly as it's meant to. I'm more speaking right now to the people listening that are maybe in that place right now where they're like, they're
Yeah.
experiencing fear for having one foot in and one foot out. But really it's like, if you just make the decision, if you know that the situation you're in right now is not the one you want to be in, like, the change happens at the decision, right? And the sooner you make that, the sooner you can actually move towards what it is you actually deserve and desire in your life.
Yeah, and then like from a neuroscience perspective, like you start to give yourself evidence. Like, this is how the brain works. Like, we need evidence.
Mm,
And because the brain loves safety and loves security, it loves familiarity, it loves things to stay the same. Of course, it's not going to want you to grow. So you're going to be stuck in your habits and your patterns. But then as soon as you can start giving yourself new evidence, your brain is like, oh, okay, maybe I'll switch that. And then eventually it does, but it does take more and more evidence, more and more practice. And that's what needs to happen if on like a biological level, if on a neuroscience level, physical level, you really want to go somewhere else.
so
Yeah.
true. So true. I have loved this conversation. Before we wrap up and get you to share all of the ways that people can find you and work with you, is there any last little things that you want to share or you feel has been left unsaid today?
Honestly, no, I feel like we've done really well. Like, we've covered quite a lot in a short amount of time.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, it's been a beautiful conversation just to see, like, really hear your journey from start to finish on before you started your business to what it looked like when you did start, and the beautiful results of the effort that you've put in, and how that continues to grow today, and to see how your impact has just changed from one country to globally through shifting your approach, and just seeing how your business continues to grow, and you really do have a freedom-based lifestyle. Like, you're always traveling and having so much fun and living your best life. And for anyone that's not following Georgia on Instagram, her Instagram is amazing, and it's just like one amazing highlight reel of all of these incredible adventures you get to go on. And I know that a big part of why you can do that is because of the business you've created, which is epic. So you should be super proud of yourself.
Thank you. And I'm so glad that you came into my world as well. Like, sometimes that's all we need, is like to be surrounded by other people who are like really doing it, really not making excuses, just like doing the thing and having fun along the way. Because that's what I really loved about you as well. I still love it about you, obviously, is that you're living your life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what's possible when you find the right approach and go all in on it. So yeah, it's amazing. Where can people find you if they want to follow along your journey, or work with you, or learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Georgia St. John Smith. Quite long, but
That's right.
St John Smith. And the same on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually quite a big place that I hang out, and I'm there every day,
Amazing.
posting and writing longer form articles, which are fun. And then my website, Sancti, so that's sancti.co.uk.
Amazing. I will put all of those links in the show notes in the description for everyone. Thank you so much for jumping on here, sharing your story, your wisdom, your truth, everything. It's means a lot to me, and I know it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. If you thoroughly enjoyed this episode, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support fuels our mission to bring you even more valuable content every week. It truly means the world to me. My promise to you is that if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, I'll continue making incredible episodes such as this every week to help you to grow and scale your coaching business. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.